Even if you live next to the Oxford University, I think you should still study abroad at least once in your life, and I'll tell you why. I feel like I'm definitely one of those people who can weigh on this topic. I feel like I'm kind of qualified because for 3 years I was studying in college in Canada. And I did a study exchange in Denmark as part of this diploma. Then I did a 2-year Bachelor's of Engineering in UK, even though it was kind of online. And now I'm in Paris doing my Master's at a French university.
Are you happy to be in Paris?
Oui.
Anyways, these reasons are for people who are about to study abroad or thinking of studying abroad or just want to find out about studying abroad, and not for just traveling as a tourist or not just working there temporarily or not fully immigrating. This is specifically for studying abroad, and I feel like it'll be helpful to anyone. Number 1, you are forced to ask for help. You know, there's a reason why a lot of successful people, whenever you listen to a TED Talk, whenever you read their books, all of them mention one thing: you should ask for help.
Most people don't get those experiences because they never ask. Most people never pick up the phone and call. Most people never ask, and that's what separates sometimes the people that do things from the people that just dream about them. You gotta act.
And studying abroad is probably one of the things that will force you to ask for help. You just have no choice. I came to Toronto barely speaking English. Like, I barely speak now, but back in the day it was way worse. And since day one, I was forced to ask for help. I'm the introvert of introverts. It is tough for me to ask for help. And it was so freaking hard to be like, oh, can you help me do this? Oh, what is this? Or where is this? And can you help me do this? Can you help me with my homework? Can you help me with writing an essay? Can you help me with my immigration document? You're talking with professors, with your fellow peers, with librarians, with Starbucks lady. You're asking for help from anyone. And this experience taught me how important it is to ask for help and how it's not that big of a deal like you think it is. You just have no choice, and that's a good thing. Sometimes having no choice and being forced to do something is not a negative thing. If I didn't ask for help when I was a student, I would not be sitting here. I would probably fail all of my first semester classes, I would probably never find a job, and I would probably never do volunteering. I would not grow as much as I did. And then why this is my first point for study abroad purposes. Because you are surrounded by your peers, and usually that's the hardest audience to ask for help. Because whenever you're at work, you're easily asking people, because you're a new person at work, everyone will help you. If you're a tourist, you're a tourist. Like, everyone will help you. But if you're a student, no one cares that you're an international student, and that no one cares. You're the same as everyone else. You're in the same spot as your peers, you're surrounded by people your age, and usually it's kind of cringy and embarrassing to ask for help. But you will ask. And trust me, by asking for help, sometimes you make the best friends. And sometimes you identify people you don't need to connect on a deeper level. Number 2, studying abroad fundamentally changes you. It changes you, the way you think, and the way you see things forever. There's this one situation that's incredibly embarrassing to admit. But whenever you're an international student, you also probably talk to other international students because all of you guys are alone in a different country. Whenever we used to introduce ourselves, from which countries and from which cultures we come from, one of the students told me they're from Mali, and I kept correcting them. Oh, that's a place in Indonesia, Bali. And maybe I thought that their English wasn't good, just like mine. And they were like, no, this is Mali. You should Google. And I Googled, and I was so embarrassed to find out that's a whole country in Africa. There were so many similar situations like that. It's crazy because whenever you're in your own country, you're surrounded by the economy of your own country, sometimes even a city or a region, by your country's culture, by your country's mentality, by your country's food. You live in that bubble, but once you get out of that bubble and you get into another place, there's a whole new world that is open to you. You find out new culture, new food, language, people. It's just crazy how you start seeing things that are different to you. Like, when I came to Canada, when I find out like some political aspects in the country, that just blew my mind that that could even like exist. But it makes sense because this is Canada and not back in my home. Finding new food, who would have guessed that I love hot sauce? We never had hot sauce in my culture. Like that vinegar-based hot sauce that you find in stores. Heck, I just have it here. I barely found it in Paris, by the way. I would never have my favorite hot sauce if I was just staying where I was. It's crazy because you meet so many international students. You talk with so many native students. You go around, you explore, even if you don't have money as a student. You go around, you go to these little street stores, you find the cheapest items, and sometimes the most cheapest items are the most authentic stuff to the country that you live in. And that's part of the way you can explore the culture, and all of that combined changes the way you see things. You know, I never had any sort of vision on like genders and race, never, because I was never surrounded by that kind of culture. But that affected the way I think. That help me formulate my own opinions. I don't think I would have it back in my country, because when I go back and I talk to people, I see that the way they think, it wouldn't correlate with the person that I am now, because I have seen things differently, things that work a little bit different in different countries. It's hard to explain all of it with words, but that's one of the reasons you should study abroad, because you do not know how it will affect you, the way you think and the way you see. The third reason, you are forced to be independent and grow. No one has to be nice to you. I learned it the hard way. When I was 16, I came and I expected just, you know, like be welcomed by the country, by the university, by the campus, by the residents. I expected everyone to like be interested in me, to help me, to be my friends, to show me around, be my tour guide, like pay for stuff, because that's how it is in our culture. Like when we see the foreigners, we like treat them as guests and stuff, but that's not how everyone thinks. I came, no one gave a single flying fuck. No one has to be nice to you. Even now I'm experiencing, like, I don't know French, right? How am I expecting French people to be nice to me if I can't even talk to them properly? How I can expect them to speak English in the country where the English is not an official language? You see, like, they don't have to be nice to me. That is why you have to go out of your way to find out things. You have to ask people, and don't be offended if they don't help you. You are forced to grow. You are forced to be independent. You are forced to Google whatever you need. You are forced to Google Translate everything. You are forced to read a lot about the culture, about the country, about the city, about the university. You are forced to do all of those things, and that will help you grow as a person. Don't expect for anyone to hold your hands and help you with everything. I remember, again, I didn't know English in Canada, and I just expected to be invited to all parties and, you know, to be like in all the clubs, and I was like, oh, I can see these people talking, like I'm coming to them and like I'm trying to talk, like, but I can't be part of the conversation properly because I can't fully understand what they're saying and I can't fully be engaged in the conversation. And like, I remember I was offended so badly once when I think there was a Halloween party or something, or Thanksgiving party, and I was not invited. And I saw it on one of the Insta stories, and then I was like, oh wow, no one invited me. And then I was like upset and sad for like next few weeks. But why would they do that? Why would they do that for a person they don't know? They can't communicate with them, they don't understand them. Why would they do it just to be nice? But not everyone is nice. That is why I learned the language as fast as I could. I learned how to communicate with Canadians. I learned their slang and just be like, you know what, let me be part of the community, let me try to integrate into the community, and that helped me grow hell of a lot. And that leads me to my next reason why you should study abroad. It's just simply learning new languages. I feel like that's one of the most common reasons why people study abroad, is to learn languages. It's just as simple as that. You know, a language is like a portal to a whole different universe, which is a new culture to me, that you can enter and then show your true personality and true self. But without a language, you cannot do that. You cannot speak fluent language if you live in a country in which that language is not spoken. Like, English is spoken in a lot of places, nevertheless, it's not spoken everywhere in the world. So in my country, it was not spoken at all. And no matter how many books I read, no matter how many TV shows I watched, no matter how many YouTube videos I watched, I could not learn it. I could not speak it properly. On my first day, immigration officer kept asking me something, and I could not respond even with 2 words. I was almost breaking down because I was scared that I'm being, sent back to home. Same was happening with me here in France. Since it happened so fast, I couldn't learn French at all. So that's what I'm trying to do now, at least partially, a little bit, Duolingo and everything. It's still incredibly hard, but I will do my best to at least understand people first, and then to learn how to communicate with them after that. Reason number 5 to study abroad is the connections that you make. Probably one of the most precious things in this experience. And it's different than just working abroad or like being a tourist somewhere or just living casually in a different country. As I said, you're forced to be with your peers in one classroom for an entire semester, 2 semesters, 1 year, 2 years, 4 years. And you make good friends out of it. You make your frenemies, enemies, good friends, acquaintances, people you just say hi to, people you never say hi to. That all counts. For example, you will study in Netherlands, but you don't want to live there, and once you graduate, you go back to your home. And then one day, if you decide to visit Netherlands, there are people who you can have coffee with, there are people who you can have parties with, there are people who you can have conversations with. It is incredibly precious to have friends all over the world. Very few people have that. If you will have it at the end of your study abroad experience, that is something to be honored and valued utmostly. Even though sometimes I text my Canadian friends and they respond me 14 hours later because of the time difference. It still feels surreal that I'm talking with someone in a whole different continent and they can't wait for me to go back. And I advise it to everyone. Just purely even for that. Because in the workplace, it's not really like that. Like in university, everyone is being themselves. At a workplace, people put on a mask as a professional. If you're a tourist, you don't really find the community like you do in universities. All of these perspectives were from my point of view. I can talk for hours and hours about this whole experience. This is one of those things that are already essential part of my identity. But I do feel like this journey is coming to a logical end because it's a journey and not a forever thing. As much of a sadness as it is for me to realize it, I'm happy maybe just to cherish moments in the coming years instead of being in the process of studying abroad all the time. Anyways, I always tell people, you should do it. If you think about it, and there are people who always think about it, who are like always considering it but never do it. And lately I've been more in line with this strategy. If you're constantly thinking about it, if you constantly keep going back to this idea or thought, you should go for it. And even if the experience by the end of the day will be negative, it's still an experience. At least you know that it didn't work for you, and at least you know, and at least you tried, and at least you went for it, and even if you failed, you have that experience, and no one can take it from you. And I just think that is so precious. If you want me to make a video on reasons why you shouldn't study abroad, please drop a comment below and I'll definitely consider it. Anyway, I'll have my afternoon tea now and I'll do my assignment. And I wish you a great day. See you in the next one.